34 minutes after the hour, Americans, Hugh Hewitt with a couple of professional educators. Coach Larry Toner has been in the classroom since 1959. Most of those years spent at Servite High School down in Orange County, California, servitehs.org. Pete Bowen is a graduate of that high school. He had Larry Toner as his teacher. He is now the president of that high school, in between a decade with the United States Marine Corps as a Harrier pilot, the head ethics officer at Los Angeles Unified School District, a graduate of Duke, and, of course, of the Golden Dome. We all know about that. Pete Bowen, we went to break, and I was saying, I'm worried about this wave coming. And I cut you off. We had 6 minutes. Let's take half to get warmed up.
Yeah, you were asking about where the kids are, and I think, like I said before, Coach is right. Everybody starts out good. And when you're in the first grader and kindergarten and all that, you see good kids. Some undisciplined, but basically good young people. But what they find out as they get older is the problems develop because society hasn't really taught parents how to parent and hasn't taught the schools what we're really developing. And so some of the most recent data, a book called Lost in Transition out of the University of Notre Dame, looked at emerging adults 18 to 23 years old. And when you look at that, you find that the 18 to 23-year-olds, about 75% of them were basically moral subjectivists, meaning they don't really think there's a factual morality out there. I mean, they sort of think it, but they sort of don't. And when they're asked to explain a moral dilemma they've encountered in the last couple years, their responses are things like, I had to make a decision on whether to buy my cat a second litter box. We've got a whole generation that's literally not being raised in the ways of thinking that our older generations are. When you look at, I do a lot of work with the top California law enforcement, and their biggest problem, or one of their biggest problems, is that 92% of the applicants for law enforcement positions in California are rejected primarily for character reasons. Some of that's writing problems, some of it's character reasons. And they realize they have a crisis in hiring law enforcement people that they can trust to do the right things for the right reasons. And they've even reached down and worked with us to develop a curriculum that starts as early as third grade and through elementary and junior and senior high schools to try to get kids in a law enforcement track so they've got the character they need when they actually show up for law enforcement positions. People I talk to, my friends that are high in the senior in the military are telling me also that people are showing up for officer candidate school without the moral and character foundation that the previous generation did, and they're trying to cram that all in. But a lot of that's parents who don't understand what life's about, who don't understand, who want to prevent their kids from suffering, not understanding the Nike and the Gatorade commercials, right? Which, what do they tell us? If you want to get good, you have to sweat. You have to suffer. And that's true if you want to get good in anything in life. So we're really confused, and we're developing generations of kids that aren't going to put America at the top. They're not like the greatest generation. They start out good. We don't cultivate them the right way.
Coach Toner, if you encounter a kid on the field,
yes, sir,
and he's a little bit bent, and by that I mean he's got attitude, he doesn't have character, he doesn't have discipline, what do you do to him to unbend him?
Okay, first of all, the fundamental position of any of the staffs I was on is that you don't ever want to lose a kid. So you always, I guess, approach him from the side of you appreciate the fact that he is God's creature and he's there for you to strengthen. So while he's got an attitude, there's always a cause for that attitude. Kids don't get attitudes just out of thin air. So you have to teach him what it's like to be disciplined or to trust or to be appreciated, and you have to make him recognize. It's the most fundamental problem. Well, I was coaching football. I didn't necessarily do it the same way now, but if you were coming to me and you said, I want to go to Servite, I would say, who are you? And that always puzzles them. And usually they don't have a good answer. And then I ask them, so you don't know who you are? Well, I know these 3 things or 4 things. And that's it? So you don't know yourself very well. And I will ask them, who do you or what are you ignorant of, totally ignorant of, that you love? And they look at you like, that's a stupid question. I said, no, I want you to answer that. He says, well, nothing. Every time I've ever asked that question, that's the answer I get. So you don't know yourself, so in that sense, how well do you love yourself? That's the start, always. Once I can get you to do that, once I can say, Mr. Hewitt, what is your goodness? And you start telling me, and I say, now think about that every day, and build on it.
I'll be right back with Larry Toner and Pete Bowen. Don't go anywhere, America. That was good stuff, Coach. Of course, I'm not surprised. I'll be right back. ServiteHS.org to read more about these men. And Leadership is Pete Bowen's book. If you want to read more about how you do this. What do we do to the schools to stop this? We'll talk when we get back on the Hugh Hewitt Show. 44 minutes after the hour, America. If you're feeling depressed, I asked Pete Bowen and Larry Toner, both of Servite High School, and my listeners who are down in 870 KRLA The Answer in Southern California, 590 in the Inland Empire. They're all pulling over and calling on their friends and say, hey, Larry Toner's on the air. And some of them will say Pete Bowen's on the air talking about kids and what happened in Boston to these kids. So, Pete Bowen, you were the ethics guy at LAUSD, and so you know both Catholic education and public education. What do we have to do, especially in public education, to dam the river of bad that's rolling?
Yeah, the challenge we have is that we have an education system that has an understanding of life that says it's all about what you know, it's all about the classroom, it's all about academics. Everything else is secondary. And I'm an academic guy. I didn't play football. I didn't play sports. But this emphasis in contemporary education, it's all about what you know, has driven where we are. So even in LA Unified, they got rid of the vocational classes because everybody's got to go to college. And I've always seen that as an elitist, snobby, academic kind of an approach. There's an older approach that really goes to who we are as human beings and our human nature. And that says that what we do when we develop people, and we call this formation in contrast to education. Formation says you have to know the right things. Academics important. Right knowledge is good. But you have to complement that with right character, right action. Right knowledge plus right action equals wisdom.
But if someone's driving around and they want to know how to do that,
you have to develop their knowledge and their character. And character's developed when you have to perform as part of a team under pressure. Theater, orchestra, athletics, the robotics competitions. Anytime you have to perform as part of a team under pressure, you have to develop character. You have to develop teamwork. You have to develop leadership. Because if you don't, you fail, and it's obvious. You lose.
I did note that these Boston bombing boys were in individual sports. Now, I'm not going to sit here and condemn individual sports, but there is something about, and Coach Toner, I'll ask you to affirm or amend, something about being part of a team of some sort that does matter a great deal in making sure we don't turn out psychopaths.
Well, sport doesn't make you good in the sense of moral good. It doesn't. And you can be aberrant, whether it's individual sport or team sport. So, sport is going to allow me to let you experience or express character that is somehow there, but maybe not nurtured, maybe not cultivated, maybe not strengthened. But I don't deal with kids that don't have any character. That doesn't happen. But if I don't treat that character properly, so I don't know who the coach was. I don't know what the reason was for these boys playing whatever sport, individual or not. But somebody wasn't putting a lot of water in that well. And it could have been the boy himself. I don't know because I don't know the situation. I mean, man's given free will. So you can have the best things going on around him, and he will deliberately choose not to cooperate. That does happen, but it's rare. So when I look at that, I'm looking at who mistreated him. Not saying that necessarily happened, but
his mom's crazy as can be.
Well, okay, there you go.
You want to hear something? Let me play this for you. This is cut number 1. The mom called a radio show yesterday, and here's what she said.
They're gonna kill him. They're gonna kill him. I don't care. My oldest one is killed, so I don't care. I don't care if my youngest one is gonna be killed today.
Pete Bowen, that's sort of indicative of what you got going on there, Coach.
Well, that just backs up what I said.
Yeah, it does. So Pete, make us happy. Because I just think a lot of people are driving around and they are stunned.
1930s America. We just went through Depression. Nobody's got any money. Nobody's got education. 6% of the population or less is educated. The greatest generation built the greatest nation in the history of the world. They had character. They understood what life was about. If you understand what life's about and you have wisdom, everything comes together. Right now we're in a society where, let me give you an example. If we know the sport we're playing is football, and we know we're on the offense, and we know we're running a pistol offense, and we know exactly what play we have to run, we'll have a high-performance team. We can all come together and make that happen. But if we don't understand that, if somebody thinks they're playing golf in the middle of that, we've got chaos. It just falls apart. in our society today, if we all understand what the meaning of life is, becoming good, achieving greatness, if we all understand why morality is a fact and not just a matter of values and independent opinion, if we all come together in union with a commonly held truth and commonly shared morality and meaning of life, we're gonna become the next greatest generation in this country.
But will public schools allow their teachers to do that?
Public schools have to make the transition from all academics to teaching character, and not just as a bunch of aphorisms and nice-to-haves, but teaching what the meaning of life is and that it's a fact and not it's whatever you make it to be. But that there's a factual meaning to life, becoming good, achieving happiness. If you're Christian, it's called salvation. And that certain kinds of behaviors get us there. Self-discipline, perseverance, love, right? If you're Christian, it's all about love. And if you give them that worldview and you give them the opportunities in the classroom, on the field, on the stage to practice those things, if you teach them what life's about, then we all come together, and we come together in really high performance. Nobody in the world has a chance against us. If we all have our own truths and morality, we'll just fall apart.
Larry Toner, are you an optimist?
Yes, sir.
Really?
Yes, sir.
Why?
Because I'm a Catholic.
Unpack that. You have 2 minutes to explain Catholic optimism to the world.
Well, if God runs the show, then I got no worries. Now, if there's no God, I got plenty of worries, and so do you.
I got this new book about Pope Francis. You've seen a few popes.
Yes, I have.
What do you think?
I have not read the book.
No, I mean about Pope Francis.
I know you better than I know the Pope. So I
from afar, though, he strikes me as a very disciplined, disciplined.
He was a Jesuit, so I was Jesuit trained.
Oh, you were?
Yes.
Oh, it's Pontifical Gregorian Jesuit?
It's a Jesuit school.
Oh.
So.
Are you scared?
No.
I'm a little bit scared.
No. He's a really humble man. That's why you got a humble man. You can't beat that. You can't beat
the Servite friars a little scared. They got a Jesuit running the church now.
Well, we'd prefer to have a Catholic, but I'm teasing. No, we're excited about the new Pope and what he brings to the table, and I think his emphasis on humility and the fact that he was banished to teach high school chemistry in the nether regions of Argentina before being called to greatness. I think before being called to the Archbishop.
Something.
There's a lesson there.
Oh, Larry's nodding. 30 seconds, Larry. Why does that matter to you?
The fact that he's humble?
No, that he was a high school teacher.
It isn't that. It's that he was not somebody who was taken by office or station, that he had the sense of truth and humility to do as God called him to do.
Larry Toner, great to meet you again. Pete Bowen, always a pleasure to have you back. The book is Leadership. The high school is Servite, servitehs.org. Glad you gave us a little uplift this afternoon, gentlemen. I'll be right back. I'm ready to close today's show. Yeah, I know the draft's on, but aren't you glad you listened?